Good morning and welcome back to Spurs Latest. I am your host, Trip Graham. Got so much to talk about today. Really fun day of the NBA, really fun week of the NBA coming up. The best reality show on television starts back tonight after the All-Star break. We got the Spurs taking on the Suns. Got a lot of NBA drama. The best reality show on television is covered right here. So let's talk about it. All right, so who has been seeing Jalen Brunson's comments calling out the Knicks mid-season? I think this is probably the biggest story of this past day is that Jalen Brunson has asked the Knicks via a podcast to get paid out after taking over $113 million pay cut for his last contract so they could build up this team. Building out this team included Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns. That cost a lot of money. And in 2028, Brunson will be eligible for a 5-year, $417.8 million extension with the Knicks. His quote on this was, obviously, I love the Knicks to do right by me. He's obviously stating, hey, since I got you last time, hey, how about you pay me out back this time? Now, I have a few thoughts about this. So first, if I'm the Knicks, am I doing this? This is going to be one of the hardest decisions for them to make. The biggest thing is Jalen Brunson has clearly been the leader of your franchise over the last few years after getting him from the Dallas Mavericks for nothing. Then you pay him out. You give him a really team-friendly contract that he agreed to. And now you're going to have a 33-year-old point guard that is going to be asking for an extension. Now, history tells me that does not work. He will be 38 playing with that last year of the contract. Obviously, probably no. With those situations, he might not be there by that last year, but he would under contract, and that would really limit the team to what they can do. Obviously, if you're a fan of the Knicks, you're saying, yes, pay him out, but it's going to limit your team in a lot of different ways. Can you afford those Mikal Bridges contracts? Can you afford those Karl Anthony Towns contracts if you're paying out over $400 million to your star point guard? Now, history tells that doesn't work. Over $400 million contract is obscene, obviously. And that's what I see is like you should be able to build a championship contender team around there. Obviously, the Knicks got really close last year, but no cigar to the Pacers. Now, do you guys think that Jalen Brunson can be that, catalyst for the Knicks to propel them into that next echelon of the NBA Finals and compete? Because I personally don't out of the East. Obviously the Celtics are at the top echelons, and then the Detroit Pistons are only getting better with their young core. I don't see it with the Knicks being able to build around Jalen Brunson to have a compete for the championship team, especially as he gets into later parts of his career. If I'm the Knicks, I believe that these 2 years right now are the window to win. I don't see it when he gets that big contract that you're going to be able to build a competent team around him. Just not enough money to with that cap space to afford those big contracts. You're going to most likely need players on those team-friendly contracts. The Knicks are not constructed like a team that, can plug and play. Obviously, they have a really good bench, but they're not playing out the players as much as, they could be. So I really do see this for the Knicks as being right now is their time to win, and they should be going all in for Giannis this offseason. So what do you guys think? Should Jalen Brunson be paid out by the Knicks going into offseason to get that extension? I am going to say a stern no. This cannot, for the Knicks purposes, this is really not smart for them. But I understand where Jalen Brunson is coming from, and I believe he will get that contract somewhere else. Just not on a good team. I think that's what's going to happen with Jalen Brunson. All right, so what else do we want to talk about? Obviously, the NBA is finally back tonight. Hallelujah. Finally. We've had a week break, and it feels like an eternity. And finally, we can talk about our Spurs. So, tonight, the Spurs take on the Suns. big game coming back. The Spurs are on a 6-game winning streak before that All-Star break, and they look to keep that winning streak intact as they keep coming back from All-Star break. Obviously, I looked at the All-Star break as another win for our Spurs. The camaraderie around our team is awesome. The energy is at a 10 with our All-Star break participants. Mitch Johnson, Keldon Johnson, Wemby. Who else was playing in the All-Star? Carter Bryant. We just had everyone around the All-Star break that I'm really excited that, we're coming back and having that really good energy. Just some things to take care of. So the Spurs are 24-13 in conference play. And, we are really killing it right now in the West. We have the best record right now since, obviously the Tony Parker days. And then let's talk about the Suns a little. So the Suns are 22-16 against Western Conference opponents, and Phoenix is 6th in the Western Conference with 15 fast breaks, with Devin Booker averaging over 3 a game. So that's probably my biggest key of the game, is the limiting the fast breaks by them. They are such a running gun team, especially with Devin Booker pulling from the 3 and, can have that inside-out game going. So I really look for Luke Cornett to stay in the post and really defend that. Keldon Johnson, our Spider-Man, is just going to be across the floor defending. Really looking for a big game from Keldon Johnson tonight. And then obviously Wemby just needs to do his thing. I think he's on a heating streak right now coming from the All-Star break. He has something to prove to the NBA that this is going to be his NBA. And I really look forward to what he has to prove tonight for the Spurs after everyone's going to eyes on him. Obviously, after the All-Star break, he came into that with a different intensity. And I think that, this will put the Spurs over against the Thunder as being a catalyst to being the number 1 out of the West. So let's see if they can pull it off. We're a few games behind the Thunder, and I think we can catch up. It's going to be hard, but I think we can do it. All right, yeah. Really exciting games coming up. Also, I was checking out just another team out of the West, the Warriors. Steph Curry is still injured for the Warriors, so he was not going to be playing tonight versus the Celtics. But 2 familiar faces for the Celtics they're going to be playing tonight, which is Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis. Yes, Kristaps Porzingis, which we have talked about a few times on this show. Kristaps Porzingis will be making his season debut for the Warriors tonight after being traded from the Hawks. Short stint with the Hawks with Trae Young. I don't think he played very few games with Trae Young. Now he's over with the Warriors. So it's going to be very weird seeing Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis suiting it up, lacing up the boots tonight for the Warriors. And, they're depleted. They don't have Jimmy Butler. They don't have Steph Curry. So we'll see how they come out. All right. So other things on this Suns roster, Devin Booker has been one of the most prime players in the league that have not won anything. They obviously made it to the NBA Finals that one time against, Giannis, but Giannis was able to pull that one off. So I don't know what Devin Booker's future is. He's very happy making a crap ton of money over on the Suns. They are paying him out every year. So he doesn't have a bad life. I don't know if his NBA championships is on the main concern of his. So we will see. Obviously, the Suns had their biggest window when they had Kevin Durant. And, obviously, Bradley Beal didn't work out how they wanted it to, but they had Kevin Durant, and they lost their window. That's how fast it can happen in the NBA. You have your window so quick, and then it jumps. But shout out Devin Booker. Always been one of my favorite players, one of the most consistent players in the league. Remember him going back to the Kentucky days. So, yeah, great player. We'll be looking forward to watching him tonight take on our Spurs. All right, so let's talk about other things going on in the NBA. So first, all right, so the Kings did announce, so let's just get the headline out of the way. Sacramento Kings, Domantas Sabonis underwent season-ending surgery on Wednesday to report his torn meniscus in his left knee. And then Zach LaVine is currently undergoing season-ending surgery to report a tendon in his hand. Kings are throwing in the towel. Players are saying, hey, let me just get these off-season surgeries now so I can come back next season full strength when I'm on a different team. I don't think there's much to it. It's the tanking that the NBA has to desperately solve. I don't know how they're gonna solve it, but these are things that, like, obviously you can't say like, hey, two players that are injured can't go get their surgeries, but you know that these surgeries aren't going to be happening if they weren't playing on the Kings. If they were playing on the Spurs, they're not getting these surgeries right now because, obviously they're in contention. So Kings throwing in the towel for the season. I hate it for the NBA. Why would you pay to go to a Kings game at this point of the season? They traded half their roster away at the deadline, and now their two best players are out for the season. They're going full tank mode, and I hate tanking so much. All right. Some other things from our old friend Jeremy Sohan is now on the Knicks and already making headlines, even though he gets no playing time. One of his quotes about the Spurs was, he said, "No real opportunity in my opinion. It is what it is. It's a deep team. Maybe I didn't see eye to eye with coach. I'm just blessing to be somewhere else to grow." Very odd for a player that's going to go be a bench player on the Knicks with probably the worst spacing that you could possibly imagine between Sohan and what's his name, Mitchell Robinson. Those two would be a nightmare to have out on the floor together of just their movement. And to say that he didn't get the opportunity to play for us, I couldn't imagine he's more wrong. Obviously, he got limited playing time this year, but he still saw over 15 minutes when he was out there. And then the thing is, we tried him out at every single position. He just did not click anywhere. We were trying him out at almost even guard positions, center, small forward. He didn't fit, and I don't think he's the hot commodity that he thinks he is. Because I mean, you're joining a Knicks team that definitely is in contention, but this team doesn't need you on their roster. I think it's a very odd pickup for the Knicks, and I honestly think it was a very odd pickup for Sohan because he's not going to get the playing time that he thinks he's going to be getting. Hey, he dyed his hair again, blue and orange for the Knicks. Knicks have him. I don't want Sohan anymore. Obviously saying you didn't see eye to eye with Mitch Johnson. Okay, I don't think you liked Mitch Johnson. That's fine. Some players just can't handle the heat, and Sohan, I think, is one of them. I just don't think that he has the it factor. So yeah, I mean, all the power to him talking like that. And we'll see how his career turns out, but it's gonna be tough for him to find any playing time on those Knicks. So other things, we're going to talk more about this tomorrow, but Chris Paul, we'll talk more about Chris Paul's career tomorrow. I want to do a little deeper dive into Chris Paul. But Chris Paul didn't say that his Spurs were the favorite team that he ever played for, his favorite organization, I should say. Obviously, he's been on some awesome teams with Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, but he said it was the best organization he ever played for. They gave him a plaque representing him winning the all-time assist award, most assists ever by a player. And it was very cool. He was showing it off. It was like the top assist that he's ever given out to was like, number 1, Blake Griffin, number 2, DeAndre Jordan, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, just some of the, premier players that he has played over the year. And it's just very cool to see, Chris Paul's career. I think that he should deserve all the flowers that he should deserve. And, we'll talk a more deep dive another time about Chris Paul, but shout out Chris Paul for giving the Spurs their flowers to say best organization they ever played for. All right, last thing on my docket is I've been watching The Sopranos, the first 2 seasons of Sopranos, and this is probably the latest review you've ever seen for a TV show that came out over 25 years ago. But Sopranos, I've been watching the first 2 seasons with my fiance, and it is some of the best television I've ever watched. The story of Tony Soprano and the Soprano Mafia, just an unreal story. I'm loving every single minute of it. The family dynamics of it is just so cool with Tony Soprano, who is obviously the main protagonist. He is a good guy, bad guy in the show, good guy to the audience. And you get yourself at points where you're rooting for Tony, even though he is just like this jerk. So really, really fun show. Just some of the awesome characters and awesome character development, and that's one of the biggest things that I loved about Game of Thrones. Is just how much they can develop some of these characters so fast. Junior, Richie Aprile, Carmela, Tony, even the kids. Meadow and AJ, those are some of my favorite characters. Just the family moments, the family dynamics that go into an Italian mafia family. Been really loving The Sopranos. So if you have not seen The Sopranos, go check it out. Watch the first 2 seasons of, and yeah, now we're getting into the FBI versus The Sopranos, FBI versus Mob, and really, really loving it. All right, well, that's all I have today for Spurs Latest. Tomorrow, we're obviously going to be recapping the Spurs taking on the Suns tonight. Let's go see what they can do. I will definitely should, when we start doing more of these, we'll see if we can cook up some bets for the Spurs game. Didn't do that any today. Just want to get back into watching ball tonight. No betting tonight, but yeah, we'll definitely place some bets on some games going forward. It's just small bets. See if we can hit some parlays or something. But yeah, tonight let's just all watch some ball. Happy to have ball back on after a week break in the All-Star game. Let's do the talking out the window. Let's get on the court and play. All right, well, I have it from Spurs Latest. I am your host, Trip Graham. Thank you so much.